Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting, innovating, and amazing Propagandacast with me, host Imperial Dane, the one, the only Master Propaganda here of Psych Defender of the Fatherland, off here to a 1v1 on Mill Road. No, that is Stephenn of Australia. Fighting here for the Wehrmacht, Germany, Deutschland, possibly the world's nicest Australian, and so by extension on most government watch lists and under constant police surveillance in Australia. Here though, with the lightning war, mechanized and close air support, forming up here with the German 7th Panzer Division, and in the south it is Mirasol, fighting for the Red Army, the Soviet Union, Comrade Stalin. Here taking the role of the 10th Tank Corps with Soviet industry tactics, oh my, with KV-8s, repair stations, supply trucks, recon airflights, and the KV-2 heavy assault tank. Grenadier MD-42 versus triple engineer conscript side here, allowing Mirasol to seize a lot of territory in the early game, and still kind of fight then. Of course, once it gets a lot of flamethrowers going, that could really make things awkward there. So, definitely a bit unusual choice there for Mirasol, and as always, a big hearty thanks to my Patreon supporters. Wonderful people, one and all. Without their support, the Propagandacast would definitely not be possible. So, thanks to every one of those. Other people can join banks by Patreon, or they can donate by PayPal. Links in the description. And if you're considering pre-ordering Communist Fee, consider doing so via the link in the comments. Use the code Coh2, in which case I get a cut of the sale. That will, of course, help me out a bit there, and you still get a copy of Communist Fee. And finally, comment, like, share, subscribe, talk about what you liked. So, I'm looking forward to the Pioneer support, catching the news here, constantly to block here. Second Grenadier squad here for Stephenn. So, the industry, definitely not your most common Soviet commander pick. And Stephenn does have close air support, which definitely is also pretty rare. Not as rare as, say, Festung support, but it's pretty rare too. Contribute towards it here, Pioneers. I'm for to move up north here. In the north, engineers advance. We just see it with 3 engineers. I mean, Mirasol is just rapidly gaining terrain here versus Stephenn. In this regard, he's definitely, I think, exploiting the fact that Wehrmacht starts typically will be kind of slow. So, of course, at the same time, it's kind of vulnerable. It's like, theoretically, like a heavy grenadier built from the Wehrmacht player, but again, that's at least not happening for now. So we'll have to see how Stephenn responds to this once I think he realizes he's up against a triple engineer build, if he ever does. Grenadiers with the conscript up north here. Machine gun slow advances there, perhaps. Could support the gunners further. Conscripts popping into the shed here. Not the best position to find with infantry, to be honest, as most of the windows, well, aren't really great for infantry fighting. You typically want machine gun inside that building, at least something with a light machine gun. Bolt action weapons aren't great. Plus, this side doesn't even have a window. It's just a door. So that's just 3 shots from Stephenn's Grenadiers. Machine gun to move here. 3rd conscript there for Mirasol. Needs taking mountain losses. Flamethrower up there. And I imagine Mirasol will at least go for 2 flamethrowers, maybe even 3 flamethrowers there. In the south here, at the same time as all this happening up in the west here, Mirasol's been making a straight move here for Stephenn's southern points here, including the fuel point here. Of course, need to respond to that swiftly. Grenadiers even the units at far range. I think to close in before losing the fuel point. Constantly being bled out here though. There go, charges and the engineers. Pioneers push back here, but the engineers are losing out to the Grenadiers now. And Stephenn secures a wipe here in Mirasol. One of his conscript wards does in fact get wiped out. Quite a blow here to Mirasol. Great though for Stephenn. Definitely a significant blow here to the Soviet army in the early game, and could help Stephenn secure better map control now here versus Mirasol. Of course, Mirasol still has a lot of engineers about the battlefield, and I imagine again we'll be looking at more flamethrowers in the near future. Stephenn there taking up, like the mechanized likely happening next. Bank up as well there for Stephenn. And we got medics on the way there for Mirasol and the Red Army. Grenadiers pushing forwards here. Machine also in tow there to support them. Grabbing the southern points. Very quite a lot of fun. There you go. Tech done. Can upgrade the bunker there with some medics. Grenadiers need to treat up before they get hosed there by the conscripts. Machine gun there can't quite suppress them. At least can prevent movement around here as well. Trying to push for that carve point, but Mirasol here is definitely blocking his Stephenn from any further advances. Light mechanized company for Stephenn. Medics on the way there as well for the German army. The 7th Panzer Division, also known as the Ghost Division, due to its performance under Rommel in France, for example, where it would typically range far ahead of the rest of the German army, so at times it would know where it was. There you go, like to make a nice company up. I imagine we're looking at an armoured car here for Stephenn. Some more infantry would also be handy, some Panzer Grenadier perhaps. Mirasol, meanwhile, is not really replacing his infantry losses, and you know, to a degree. Short, of course, having a bunch of flamethrower engineers can help compensate for not having enough conscripts, because flamethrower engineers are quite good. It's definitely rare to see a solo player to go for this kind of build here at all. Very rare. Armored car on the way there for Stephenn. I like the Panzer Speedwagen. We've seen remains here in the center, though. Note he's repositioned a bit here. That way make it a bit harder for the opponent to predict what it exactly is. So thumbs up there to Stephenn. He's using it actively, but at the same time, you know, not being reckless or lazy, which can also happen at times. The machine that takes some losses here for the consequent heavy car will need to retreat. Engineers timing ahead here for the glory of that army. Up north, Stephenn making good progress. Minesweeper kits on the way, as he is obviously expecting mines here from Mirasol. 2-2 has arrived to support Deutschland. There's some motorization here. Contra, they're taking losses. The Gunneries flank them. Very good here. In this case, while they're falling into heavy cover, they're not really protected, as remember, heavy cover is directional, so let's look at the angle here, the direction. I mean, they're not necessarily going to be particularly well covered from the Gunneries here. So there you go. Has to fall on behind there now. But they've already been significantly weakened. Armored car pushing towards the center here. Meanwhile, Mirasol making another push there for Stephenn's fuel point. Backhead reinforcing. A bit of healing. No commander yet for Stephenn. Could go for mechanized for a 250 half-track here. Particularly with all these engineers, a 250 half-track could be like pretty nice to like hit Mirasol with. Of course, Mirasol's pushing ahead. He's like going to hit with the T-70 soon. So, you know, Pack 40 here, some Panzer shakes makes a lot more sense for Stephenn. Or theoretically more armored cars. But there you go. Mirasol here with the T-70 on the way. Engineers there. Data entering into the fuel point neutral. That said, engineers are quite vulnerable to the armored car here. And there's a good chance here that Stephenn could deliver a blow there to the Red Army and wipe one of the flamethrower engineer teams here, which would be very helpful for Stephenn and for Deutschland. Almost got engineer scored here. Wiped. Could possibly wipe another engineer scored here. Perhaps not, but I'll wait. Definitely a blow there to Mirasol. 3 kills on the 2-2 so far. Manpower there being floated by Stephenn. Needs to, of course, get back his fuel point in the far south here. Conscript holding up. Could call in a supply truck here. There's his Zix, which, by the way, was also the basis for the Katyusha rocket truck, as a fun side fact. Anti-tank grenade plus Molotovs there for Mirasol and the Red Army. East side here we got the conscripts with the Gunneers. Pack 40 slowly on the way there for Stephenn now. So he has to buy time against the T-70 waits for the Pack 4, though, of course, in other respects, Stephenn does have a significant advantage. He's definitely got more units on the field overall, with only 2 conscripts and 2 engineers for Mirasol on top of the light tank. He is a bit understaffed, you will. Which is definitely, I think, something Stephenn can now exploit here and definitely undercut Mirasol's otherwise strong early game control of the map. But there you go, mine goes off the Fritz and Franz, blown to bits there, armored car. Already falling back and aiming for 2 team Molotovs to treat in the face of the mighty T-70 up north here, though. Slow progress here. Pioneers Rider, though, as Mirasol's having none of that. Pack 40 has finally arrived here for Stephenn. Gunneries moving about. And we got Panzer Gunnery here for Stephenn. 2 thumbs up. Adding some more assault infantry versus Mirasol, I think could be a very good idea. Could definitely help with the infantry and engineers. To be more offensive, and a pinch in theory could also be equipped with a Panzer Schreck. It becomes steeply necessary. Meanwhile, Mirasol is starting to go for some more infantry finally. Thumbs up for that as well. In terms of squad numbers, he will still be a bit outnumbered once the Panzer Grenadiers hit out, and the Panzer Grenadiers also typically perform well versus conscripts. Anyways, in usual torch center back up by the T-70, Pack 40 is at the ready. There we go, straight ahead into the Pack 40. Great shot there. And it's all like fairly damaged. Theoretically, the Pack 40 could finish off the T-70 here. Again, in this case, the T-70 has enough health to just narrowly survive. It would require the armored car to push in. And clearly, Stephenn's armored car is not in a great enough position to really risk that pursuit. Panzer Grenadier there at the ready outside of Stephenn's base with their Sturmgewehr 44. Transfers the Grenadiers there. And we got, briefly considered the field gun here, but Mirasol decides against it. Perhaps a mortier versus Stephenn instead. Some artillery, Maxim. More infantry. Or a supply truck. Now he does go for the mortar here. But so far we haven't really seen much of the commander out here at Mirasol so far. Not much of the commander at all. Admittedly, it is a very specific type of command, as it's not like you can do a lot of stuff with it outside of, like, you know, tanks or vehicle support. Again, you could call in the supply truck, but so far, Mirasol has not shown much of an inclination towards advanced logistics. T7 sitting out there, though, for Mirasol once more, ready to tackle the Germans. Conscripts out the shed here. Need to be careful, already one conscript has met that fate in that shed. Mortar team here ready now to support Mirasol and the Red Army against Stephenn. A nice addition there, of course. Thumbs up to Mirasol for using mortars. They can get a bit overlooked, I feel. And Stephenn here is going for another Grenadier squad, pushing up to 5 infantry squads. Again, another sign of that, you know, 5 infantry squads meta game that seems to be slow developing. And again, I think it's actually quite solid there. Again, I feel like some people can see a bit much in just the importance of infantry here. Though, personally, I would like to see another Panzer Grenadier squad rather than another Grenadier squad, since 2 Panzer Grenadier squads can really, like, deliver some heavy assaults against the opponent. But either way, though, this means Stephenn has, like, some significant map presence. See if he remembers to use it well. Not remembers, but, you know, can utilize it well. Obviously, the T-Sense can be a challenge, but if you can somehow, like, keep it a check or straight up destroy it, this could allow Stephenn's infantry then some significant freedom on the field and make it very difficult for Mirasol to hold out, because with just 3 country squads, there's definitely a good chance that Stephenn could just overwhelm him. Armored car, they're firing out the Sturmovik as it does air reconnaissance. I don't think most of those aircraft would have been used for reconnaissance, though. I believe they would have had a more specialized aircraft, but, you know, never say never. Everybody was the T-70 again. Another good shot there. Armand keeps firing at the Sturmovik, which was a heavily armored aircraft to the point that the German nicknames included the Flying Brick House and the Flying Tank. It tells you a little about, you know, how tough that thing was. Panzer, they're going straight for the armored car here, hoping to disable it. Panzer, they're good to go again here for Stephenn. Grenadiers being healed up. No tech yet for Stephenn, and still no commander here for him. Hard to say what he's scheming here, though. I suppose lightning war becomes more likely here, more time passes for Stephenn. The South Eastern is pushing force there for him and Germany. Armored car, the 9 kills, close to 2 up north here. Panzer pushing forward towards more. Sturmgewehrs are ready, engaging engineers there. Out in the open there go T-Sense flanking in. Still no tech for Stephenn. Feel like that's a slight oversight here by him. Would definitely benefit from taking up, and actually, at this rate, if he were to take up now, he could actually get out in Ostman like pretty fast, even like a relatively fast Stug. But there goes Stephenn is taking up now. Wunderbar, though still no commander chosen here. Keine Kommandant. Far south, he can leave at the ready. Mortar there, ready to bombard any Germans. Then decides perhaps not that ready. Could go for a mortar now. I think at this point, once he's fixed up the armored car, he should treat the pioneers so he can time up this pommel column. We do get a mortar here for Stephenn, a Granatenwerfer. Thumbs up here. Not a bad idea for him to get artillery. Pioneer to help counter the third mortar. But as I like to say, in the 1v1 meta game, having a mortar is typically a very, very good investment. Or any kind of light artillery, of course, could mean light infantry guns, pack howitzers, or whatever. Just having some kind of light artillery piece can typically go a fair amount of weight as the opponent. Far up north here, Grenadiers of the countries here. Light machine fire that directs Dimitri with hot lead. Sergei looks to achieve vengeance there with a Molotov, right at the Germans. Push for the car point here is being disrupted a bit by Mirasol, at least frustrated. He's retreating, pack firing at the T-7 again. Grenadiers are pushed off. They do hit the mortar team there with the rifle grenade, but nothing too significant. German Grenadier at the ready. Far south, Grenadiers in trouble as well. They're being pushed back. Mechanized to accompany it for Mirasol, opening up for 7-man upgrades for his conscripts. And meanwhile, in the southeast, Stephenn pulls back as the situation is turning rather aggressively communist against him. But up north here, Panzer going to be on the move here, going to try and hit the support weapons there, though without support against the T-70, their little plan will, of course, run into some issues. Not a bad idea, but again, like, you know, Stug, Ostman, Pentagon support the push here would be very good, at least the armored car. this case, you need to treat them now before... Actually, they're probably going to get wiped at this rate, I think, unless Stephenn gets very lucky. Which he didn't. That's unfortunate. But yeah. I was going to plan for the mine there, of course, again, mine supposed to check it would have been a half decent idea there. But I definitely like the overall idea. The execution could do with a bit of work. Mortar team there with 3 kills here for Stephenn. Should definitely replace the lost Panzer grenadiers, but at least he's got full grenadiers, so overall he's got still good infantry control over the field. And T-34-6 for Mirasol will be a problem there for Stephenn, with only 1 Pack 40, though of course he would like to respond with a Panther 4. But until he does, the T-34-6 will be quite a problem for Stephenn. And we got here close air support. Now that is a rare commander with Stuka reconnaissance pass, supply drop zones, Stuka anti-infantry strafes, Stuka anti-tank strafes, and the Stuka bombing strike. It's relying on the power of the Luftwaffe to overcome the enemies of the Reich. Smoke being deployed there. Stephenn, I think, tries to make a push for the carve point. That's it. The execution hits a bit of a brick wall there. But again, I like the idea. Even if it doesn't quite go the way he had planned or hoped. At least tries. That is an important element towards getting better with things. Is actually trying to do it in the first place. T-34 ready here for Mirasol and the Red Army. Equipped with a 76.2mm gun, hence the 76 in the name. Russia's force here for the Red Army. Grenadiers in trouble in there. Go wipes half the squad. The T-34-6 has very good anti-infantry performance. It is probably the best out of all the medium tanks against infantry, especially when you consider its cost as well. It kind of gets a bit bonkers when you factor in the cost. As it's cheaper than Ostwind, but easily outperforms the Ostwind versus infantry and can still take on medium armor. There you go, Panther 4 on the move, adding the panel-mounted MG42. Reinforcing healing. Panel-mounted machine gun almost done, but yes, close air support is definitely a rare command. It used to be very, very popular for a brief while. You could just convert fuel for munitions, and some of the abilities were still much more powerful, at which point people just spam it. They wouldn't even bother with tanks, they just run about with a bunch of grenadiers and packs, and they just spam anti-infantry strafes or anti-tank strafes, depending on what needed to be murdered. So that commander got rather thwacked a few times, said to bring it into line, but it has meant that the commander's almost dropped off entirely. But clearly, Stephenn believes in the power of the Luftwaffe. Mortify their rain down death here on Stephenn's position. Stephenn's launching another assault here. T-34 hitting Panther Faustet. Nothing heavy though in terms of damage. Counter they're being blasted to bits here. Routed by Stephenn's stout grenadiers in the south here. Bit of skirmishing on the south flank here as Mirasol tries to grab the southern fuel point away here for Stephenn and the Third Reich. Up north, engineers about to get ripped up with the grenadiers here. Close to wipe, but looks like here Mirasol's engineers narrowly survived the encounter. With the Deutsche Wehrmacht, T-7 pushed back by the Pack 40, which achieves 32. Panther 4 pulling ahead here for the Reich. Field gun being hauled out there. Mortar with 5 kills here. And close to veteran defeat. Straight from run called in here by Stephenn. There we go. Strikes. Oh, he actually clears out the field gun with it. Could actually destroy the field gun here, which would be a hell of a blow there to Mirasol. But no, comes from the flank here. Draws away Stephenn's attention from potential destruction here of Mirasol's pack or field gun, allowing him to actually chance to recover it. Of course, when they notice another match. But there goes Stephenn still at it. He's trying to destroy the pack and field gun here before Mirasol can get his hands on it. But the pack gunners are not having a great time out. And there you go. Mirasol's conscripts throw themselves at the field gun. Meanwhile, we got another T-34-6 on the way here for Mirasol, for Stephenn to deal with. And he's being hammered by the T-70 light tank Ace. Here we got the Constantine to flank in, but they caught with MD-42 there. Panther 4 need repairs. Stephenn here can't go for another Panther 4 now, which I think would be a good addition. Of course, a Strook 3D could also be a good addition here for Stephenn. To help deal with the armor a bit more robustly and swiftly. Victory points wise, Stephenn has a significant lead over Mirasol here. A significant lead. There you go, fresh T-34-6 out there for Mirasol. Mortar team being hauled forwards. Decently being repaired here alongside the T-34. More Pioneer for Stephenn to repair his armor faster. Thumbs up though. Could still benefit from tanks. Smoke being deployed here by Stephenn. Planning an attack here, or is it perhaps some kind of information warfare against his opponent, trying to mess with Mirasol's perception here, make him think an attack is coming? It's hard to say, it's hard to say. T-34 will continue the assault, and moving forward to center here. Machine gun with instant artillery rounds loaded up. There you go, constantly being ripped apart here, packed around to deal with the T-34 from 6 colonies advancing. Panther 4 could also flank here. Could also send the gunners to try maybe Panther Faust here. In the center there, Mirasol's men are being absolutely viciously torn to shreds here. Mirasol frantically throws his teeth and everything to try and draw away attention from the T-34 from 6 as he withdraws it. Up north, the other T-34 remains pretty static. We've got flares here for Mirasol, sussing out his team's position for hitting him with the nasty stuff. Stephenn here with another anti-infantry strafe ready. Of course, he could be planning an anti-tank strafe here soon versus Mirasol. Still no sign of additional armor here for Stephenn. He has got plenty of fuel, even a good amount of manpower, but Stephenn's Panzer remains mostly somber. There you go, the T-Center goes down here. A great kill for Stephenn, and a significant blow here to Mirasol, losing his ace-level T-70. That's going to be tough to replace for sure, and probably not something he will replace, honestly, since at this point most players will rarely go for T-70s, but in most cases, they can just go for more T-34s from 6s, which, as I mentioned before, are amazing versus infantry as well, but of course, much better versus tanks. And they only cost 20 fuel more than the T-70, so unless you really want the T-70, honestly, just going for more T-34s from 6s is by far the most sensible approach here. Meanwhile, Stephenn is firing up another Panzerkampfwagen 4. Of course, hauling in some Stooks would also be a very good addition here for Stephenn. Victory points wise, Stephenn continues to enjoy a strong lead here over Mirasol, and is obviously looking to increase the lead here over Mirasol and the Red Army. Most conscripts today, if not all, have been upgraded to the 7-man status. And a 4 number 2, 2/3 of the way done. First one being repaired here, Pioneers hard at work. Drive grenade around here, I think would be a pretty nice attempt. There you go, got a Nardmer for joining in the fun as well before getting out of the fun due to the Soviet mortar. Second Panther 4 right around the corner for Stephenn and for Deutschland. But for the center victory point once more, developing here between Stephenn and Mirasol. Constantly being suppressed, routed. Smoke deployed there by Mirasol. In this case, Full Solid actually ends up assisting Stephenn's grenadiers. Coh2 for Mirasol, bring in some heavy artillery here than the mortar. Also less flexible in some regards, but certainly, I would say makes up for that, but just hitting really, really hard. Air reconnaissance for Mirasol. I think that's actually the first time he's used this command. I mean, I don't think we've seen any, like, repair stations, to be honest. I think that'd be increasingly be a good idea for him to consider. We certainly haven't seen the KB8, nor the SIS-6 supply truck, so far, he's really only used it for recon overflight. I mean, he could be planning the KB2 down the road, I suppose. Fieldman turning in the Panther 4, pushing it back, and the Sentinel is advancing here. Other Panther 4 moving up. Coh2 almost done it for Mirasol. Also had a bit of a reconnaissance sweep here by Stephenn's Luftwaffe. Back here, nothing further happening. Could soon go for third Panther 4. We could also very soon go for Stuk 3G. Provide something a bit more punchy here versus the T-34s from 6s. South here, controls the gun, do you see it? More mortar fire here, and there you go. Another smoke screen from Stephenn against Mirasol in the center. Panther 4 about to get rushed here by Mirasol's forces. Grenadiers, they're taking significant cash. His force fall back. Ace pack opening up the T-34. Great shot there. But there you go, Coh2 barrage on the pack here. Panther 4 there, also being caught in the fire, not taking too much damage, but the pack crew there is at a high risk of getting wiped out, which would be a significant blow to Stephenn due to loss of the many bonuses, in particular the rate of fire bonuses on Ace Pack 40 is definitely not something you want to be losing out on. Of course, on the other hand, that's something you really want to get rid of as the opponent, because Any veteran 3 anti-tank gun can quickly threaten your tanks and, you know, push them into death very quickly. So it's definitely something you want to prioritize, is like veteran 3 anti-tank guns if you see them, to be honest. North here, we got the infantry with the conscript squad here. Back 2 points wise, Stephenn continues to just slowly but steadily increase his lead here over Mirasol and the Red Army. He's going for tier 4 now. I also think just going for medium armor here would be better for him. Maybe some Panzer Grenadiers. But that said, he's got 2 Panther 4s, he's got a good lead. Obviously, he can try and get away with this heavy Panzer Corps, and he might just be able to make it work, but a lot of the time you're just better off fine going for like just more Panther 4s and maybe some Stubs and going for anything else there. But we'll see here. We got here another reconnaissance sweep here from Stephenn, again looking to quickly suss out his opponent's positions, maybe find a nice alternate path that can lead to maximum damage on the Marxists. Smoke in the center here, and more reconnaissance, but this time from Mirasol. Both players definitely active reconnaissance people, but the Panther 4 pin-up machine actually takes it out pretty fast. Nice work there. Heavy Panzer Corps can now be built here for Stephenn. Question is just, when does he build it? He does have plenty of pioneers to spare for the task. And meanwhile, Mirasol's just bringing more T-34s from 6s, as they are cheap, but again, very efficient medium tanks. Heavy more to that ace level here for Mirasol. Bit risky, honestly, for Stephenn. Like, I'm fairly certain he's aware of the Katyusha right now, so bunching up all of his weapons like that is definitely not a sound decision, I would say, there by Stephenn. Obviously, don't blame him. Partly, again, the map can sort of create these farms where you can't forget about it, but still. Ultimately, not great for Stephenn. An amazing target there for Mirasol's Katyusha rocket launcher. Those are the mortar crew. Almost wipes the support weapons. Again, a really close call there for Stephenn's pack crew. Meanwhile, push in the south. Can't you see the Grenadiers could wipe them out there? Yeah, that's going to be wiped here on Stephenn, just with 3 Grenadier squads now in the face of Mirasol. Panther 4 there, T-32, but it's taking damage from the field guns. Already half health here, could lose it. But certainly a huge blow here to Stephenn. Engineers almost wiped out. Close calls there all around the south here, though. Mirasol looks up to open up a new part of advance here on Stephenn. Further pushing through here, where Stephenn has left nothing to defend, no reconnaissance, and is now charging at Stephenn as he retreats fully into his base here. Complete rout for Stephenn, and there you go, loses the ace pack crew. That is a hell of a kill there for Mirasol. Removes a massive obstacle, and now it's going to destroy the pack, so that's a real double whammy there against Stephenn. Not only did he lose the pack crew, but he also lost the pack itself. As a great kill for Mirasol. This, of course, on top of the Grenadier wipe and the mortar getting wiped here. Definitely looking rough for Stephenn. And looking much better for Mirasol. Of course, Stephenn still has a significant vector pawn needs. It's not like, Stephenn is, in a situation he cannot recover from at all. He also has a good amount of resources. But, nonetheless, Stephenn has taken a hell of a thrashing. He's bringing another pack 40, still in a heavy Panzer Corps here from Stephenn. And there you go. Mirasol's having nothing up with that German Granatenwerfer and will apparently seek to destroy it. Fixing up the Panther 4s first here. Panther 4 there. Slowly approaching the T3 up north. The point being grabbed with engineers. South side here. T-34s from 6. You need repairs. We've got Samex here for Mirasol. Stephenn's got a bit of mission that's saved up for some strafing runs again. I think at this point, Stephenn definitely wants, try and attack through here. I think it's much better suited for, his tanks here. Much more open terrain. And just less stuff for his panzers to get caught up in compared to with this just a lot more stuff for his tanks to get caught up in. Plus, most of the fighting so far has been more center-south here, so stretching towards the north here. I think there's also, at least for a brief while, more of a chance of achieving, operational surprise against Mirasol. I will see that. I mean, he's slowly shifting northwards, but he again, might end up doing it so slowly it gives Mirasol plenty of time to just bring up his forces there. Stephenn Barber setting up the heavy Panzer in space. Will it be the Panther? Will it be the Sturmpanzer? Or will Stephenn be looking towards the Panzerwerfer? We'll have to see. Certainly an argument for either here, because the field gun's obviously going to be a big problem for Stephenn's armor, but all these T-34s from 6s, in fact Mirasol's going for a 4th one, certainly also requires a pretty harsh answer here from Stephenn. So what will the answer be here from Stephenn? He does go for the Panther, the Panzerkampfwagen 5, which backed up by 2 Panther 4s. Should be a fit the T-34s, of course. The primary issue will, of course, still remain the field guns, though. They need to get removed here for Stephenn to really have a chance. Of course, he does have some air support, so certainly not impossible for Stephenn. Not impossible. So we got 378 versus 90. Panther is slow around here for Stephenn and the 7th Panzer Division. Mortifying and close the gunners in the south here. Panther fighting southwards. Go, there's the 4th T-34 from 6 there from Mirasol and the Red Army. Panther moving forwards. Slowly approaching Infantry and the Aisler here on the Panzerkampfwagen. It's definitely bad news for Mirasol's infantry and armor. Air recons again. Could be lining up here for Stuka bombing strike. I think it's better to wait for that as part of a larger attack. No, he goes for the anti-tank strafe. Actually does work out there. Lands a few hits in the T-34 from 6, but I think he should have saved up here for as part of a larger assault. Then use the Stuka bombing strike, to further cause problems here for Mirasol in terms of management. But either way, though, Panther 4 dives in, then dives out. In the center, the Pack 40 machine spawns going forward. The field is actually caught in a pretty bad spot. He actually has a chance, I think, to clear out the field guns, but no, Stephenn, I think, is too quick to fall back here, so he misses out on the opportunity, perhaps. If he can't get rid of these field guns, that would be very beneficial for Stephenn. It'd be a huge problem for Mirasol. Panther there bouncing a shot from the T-34 from 6. It's 80mm of sloped frontal arm, proving to be very potent, of course. Pack the wiped out here. Coh2 strike, and now Mirasol's crude Stephenn's pack behind him. This is definitely dangerous for Stephenn and the German army. He quickly mobilizes tanks up behind the anti-tank guns, and the infantry there rapidly looking to prevent disaster from unspooling his entire front line. That was a devious move there, Mirasol. Very good stuff there. Thumbs up. Of course, if you're Stephenn, you're probably not thinking that was really good stuff. Infantry moving forwards here. Good shot from the newly crewed pack there. Panther 4 and Panthers there could do some repairs. Primarily the Panther at this stage. The 4 T-34s from 6 is backed up with the field guns. Is definitely a bit of a headache. We also finally got a repair station up here for Mirasol. Thumbs up to that. So that's a bit more of the commander actually utilised here by Mirasol. That is a bit more of the commander. Another bit of air concept from Stephenn. More being caught here by the Panzerkampfwagen. Other Panzerkampfwagen caught by the SIS-3 Division field gun. Might want to grab that centre victory point. Panther diving forward here, straight hit from the T-34 from 6. Second shot though bounces off the Panther sloped armour. Anti-tank grenade doesn't even care about such concepts, just damages the engine. And far up north, this scene making run from northern fuel point. Very good. Troops advancing in the centre. Flares again here from Mirasol. Or is that a flare mine? Hard to say. Either way, there's a flare off. And he's being shot here by the T-34 from 6s. Other Panthers 4 backing off here as it gets very close to the ace level, but also close to death. Meanwhile, that Panther 4 is getting absolutely bombarded here. Mirasol is just unleashing, well, most of his arsenal there. That poor Panther 4 crew there. Coh2 fire going off as well here. The situation for Stephenn remains rather uncomfortable, I imagine. But there you go. Takes out one of Mirasol's T-34s from 6s. Finally scores a tank kill here on the Red Army. But this Panther is almost about to get knocked out. He looks like he may just narrowly avoid such a fate that this pack crew once more expires here in the face of Mirasol's armored fist. Panthers close to veterans 1, but close to death. And Mirasol, meanwhile, is just rapidly replacing the lost T-34s from 6, as they are quite easy to replace. Stephenn responds to all of these field guns with a Panzerwerfer, some rocket artillery. He's also lost the Grenadier squad, of course, so he's down to just 2 squads versus his opponent's 3 now. Definitely a bit of an uncomfortable spot here for Stephenn. Need to get his pioneers swiftly on work here, fixing up the Panzers, and I mean, they're all heavily damaged. So It's definitely a tough spot for Stephenn. Very tough one that's going to be tricky, I think, to get out of. Not impossible, but with this kind of serve plan, I think on a map like this, it's going to be quite a challenge because he's got a lot, like, you know, field guns going to be tough to clear out. He's got a lot of tanks, going to deliver a lot of firepower. The Katyusha, the mortar, just a really nasty combo of just incredible amounts of firepower backed up by a fair amount of durability. Definitely requires Stephenn, I think, sort of line up a really, really good push that can just completely blow Mirasol out of the water, and will also require, I think, to be quite fast and able to use the, you know, terrain well. So, oops, sorry about that. Sometimes the mouse slips a bit here. I do apologise. Sorry for some of those jerks there. But anyways, Panther 4 near the ace level. We also get a bit of area cons again from Stephenn. Panther 4 number 2 there, almost good to go. Just leaves the Panther then. We also got the Panzerwerfer 42. Fun fact, by the way, the Waffen-SS actually made their own little variation on the Panzerwerfer, which used Katyusha rockets. Yeah, they actually liked the Katyusha so much, they initially used captured stocks of Katyusha rockets, but afterwards, they'd end up just having their own made with slave labor. So yeah. Weird, but, you know, fun fact there. And so not one of those details you hear a lot about. Panther slowly being repaired here for Stephenn. Panther 4 taking up north here, but again, the lack of infantry I think is proving to be a bit of an impediment here for Stephenn. Other Panther 4 achieves 32, very nice there. Other one has not hit the ace level, but is in need of repairs. In fact, most of his armor is once more in need of repairs. Map control-wise, is also looking much stronger now for Mirasol. He's digging in. And again, he's taking advantage of the map's nature to, again, just be able to play a much stronger defensive game, because it's very difficult to, like, launch any sort of major attacks because the map has so many, shall we say, choke points or pseudo-choke points in a sense there. It's not the worst defender, I'd say, in terms of maps, but it definitely is still, I think, a map that could do with, you know, having some of these choke points pruned away. Third field gun for Mirasol, again, just digging in even heavier. Again, field guns like this are very good for this because, again, 6-man crews just naturally makes them tougher to clear out easily. Plus, again, the artillery just gives them more utility, so you're just less punished for committing heavily for, like, a lot of anti-tank guns. So it's because, like, say your opponent switches hard to infantry somehow, you can still just use the field guns to bombard the infantry. And there you go, Panthers move here for Stephenn, looking to outmaneuver here Mirasol's right flank, but just runs into a lot of T-34s from 6s, which again, with the sheer volume they have, like, you can just really see the Panther runs into the issue. It just cannot match as much firepower. Like, even like it bounces, you know, several shots, there's just going to be so many more shots coming at it that eventually the Panther's still going to end up losing, because it just cannot match that level of firepower. Anti-tank strafe here, but again, unfortunately they're perhaps a bit too quick to pop it off, or maybe a bugger, I don't know, but our the aircraft completely whiffs on the T-34s. Panther 4 going too deep here. Stephenn catches it off guard here, could get a wipe here, which would be very helpful for Stephenn and the German arm, but no, gets with this level of health here. Not great for Stephenn. Great, though, for Mirasol. T-34 a little bit top, there you go. Panthers now heavily damaged. Forced back for repairs again here soon enough. The armor is just not of much use there. Go film crew wiped out. Meanwhile, we've got more T-34s threatening here. Stephenn's advance here, plus another field gun covering that up, and that is an ace field gun at that, so that's a really big threat here. Panther 4 there, kaput. Panzerwerfer there, didn't hit anything, and the Panthers down here, the J for Stephenn, and the 7th Panzer Division is rapidly deteriorating here in the face of Mirasol and the Red Army. T-34 there, kaput. Katyusha fire here, machine gun pioneers pushing back some of the conscripts, but the situation here for Stephenn is quite frankly desperate. And he will need to do some, I think, serious work here soon to somehow turn the tide, but again, the odds, I think, are not in Stephenn's favour. Not even remotely. Packs are being moved up, Panther 4, they're just hightailing out of there. Mortar keeps flying away there, Packs up in the T-34, some 6. Got the mortar crew. Small win here for Stephenn. Small win, and Mirasol's not being an H5 to replace the lost T-34 from 6, but when you think about it, like, one T-34 6 for a Panther 4, and a Panther is like incredibly good economy for the Soviets. incredibly good. Like, had we lost 2 T-34s from 6s, he'd still be getting off much better than Stephenn did. Especially when factoring that Panzer IV was veterancy too. So the situation for Stephenn remains quite bleak here, as Mirasol just keeps churning out, tanks and now tank destroyers. Panzer IV there in dire need of repairs. Again, Panzer is ready to fire again here at Mirasol. North side of the map seems practically forgotten here, but Stephenn packed, they're being flanked by the T-34s and 6 and our ace level. A hero of the Soviet Union, film crewed here by Stephenn's desperate grenadiers. Air support called in here, straight from unleashed Panzerwerfer, sets off a mine, but still doesn't really get a lot of killing done. There go 3 counter squads, pinned down an entire Soviet platoon, halted in its tracks, but I don't really think Stephenn can do much more to really take advantage of. Oh, nice use of incineral piercing rounds at least. Thumbs up to that. Again, very good ability. Very good ability in this case, though. Probably not enough to turn the tide for Deutschland. Big notes of great hit in the machine gun. Being absolutely devastated here by Mirasol's Katyusha. The HE-5 is ready. So is Stephenn's Panzer IV. But again, Stephenn is just so badly outnumbered in pretty much every respect here now. Got a good chunk of the field gun infantry flanking around, but there's still the HT-34 from 6. He needs more support here. Could he turn the tide here? Theoretically, but there go the snare on the Panzer IV. Pretty much seals the fate here. And he doesn't even get the Katyusha there. Yeah, at this point, I think it is safe to say it is GG. The Panzerwerfer is kaput as well. Stephenn, unfortunately, is lost. And there you go. He lost for the Reich. He also surrendered rather than just quitting, which most players do increasingly. So, fierce back and forth fight here. Close at times for Stephenn, but I feel like, again, the heavy Panzer Corps is just a lot of the time I find a questionable investment, because ultimately what you need from it is more firepower on top of like whatever you else get, which is like armor. But the problem is T4 really doesn't provide, in particular not in the Panthers. It turns out to be a much more questionable investment. I think it's even just go for more Panzer for some Stooks. I think that would help out a lot more. Secondly, though, even like you say, okay, he wants to go for the Panzer 5, fine, but tactically he needs to like exploit more of the west terrain then. I think that was one mistake of Stephenn, like he focused too much here, which is just not great tank terrain. But also he needed, more Panzer Grenadiers and trying to keep them alive. I think that also done Stephenn a lot more good. Still, interesting fight is not to see commanders like Close Air Support actually seeing some usage, even if they are rare and not necessarily like the most meta or powerful, but they still offer some interesting plays there. So GG, game over. Hope you enjoyed this match. You'll learn something from it. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment on it. Tell a friend, tell a family, but don't tell enemies. This is Imperial Lynching. Cheers. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow again for another episode. Bye.